Welcome to Gun News in 5 minutes or less, where we will talk about events and happenings in the gun industry, ammunition pricing and so forth, politics related to firearms, personalities, new releases on the market, and anything else I can fit in. This is brought to you by Dr. Drake 63. Well, it certainly didn't take Joe Biden long to get started on his gun legislation, or common sense gun control, as he calls it. We're sitting here on February 14th, Sunday, just 2 days after the Trump acquitted for the second time. And apparently now it's time to move forward with policy. And of course, as we could have expected from the Biden presidency, we're going to talk about guns. Specifically, he wants to revisit background checks. He wants to talk about assault weapons, whatever those are defined as, and high-capacity magazines, whatever those are defined as well as hit harder on gun manufacturers from a liability standpoint, those gun manufacturers who make weapons of war. Now, what do those items all have in common? They have a high degree of interpretation in common. First of all, what's a high-capacity magazine? Is it a magazine that holds more than 10 rounds? Well, I've got a number of 22 rifles that are tube-fed, which will hold much more than that. Is that a weapon of war? Is that a high-capacity magazine? As we saw from prior legislation, things such as having a foregrip on a rifle made it a weapon of war, and one without a foregrip made it not a weapon of war. So what does that really mean? Are we going to say, look, anything that falls into the AR-15 category is a weapon of war? Does that mean that your dad's M1 Garand is a weapon of war? Because I have news for you. That was created to be a weapon of war. Many of the AR-15s were created for civilian use. So the term assault rifle, if you look at it from its standpoint of what does that really mean, it means whatever somebody wants to say it means. Liability suits against gun manufacturers, boy, that's a slippery slope. We already saw what it did to Remington in terms of Bushmaster and the whole Freedom Group blowing up, going away. This is certainly not an editorial, but this is intended to inform you that Joe is on the move. What does that mean? Well, he's calling for legislation to be introduced. Obviously, bills start in the House, which he'll have no problem getting somewhere to do that, and then they have to pass the Senate. Well, one thing that's a little bit different about this than, say, legislation geared around we don't like Donald Trump is the fact that there's a lot of states with Democratic Party senators as well as representatives where they realize if they're going to go ahead and jump on board with some of these restrictive bills, they're going to lose a lot of support back home. So there's certainly not a slam dunk. I don't believe there's a slam dunk in terms of votes in the Senate. In my opinion, the most likely piece of legislation to get traction will be expanded background checks. Now, is this the time they're going to go after the so-called gun show loophole? Don't know. We'll have to see. You've seen individual states go after certain makes and models of firearms. California is notorious for that, as well as high-capacity magazines. We've seen those same laws go back and be declared unconstitutional by their own state's Court of Appeals. So not necessarily an easy road to go, but this is something that Joseph Biden has been talking about for a long time, so this should not surprise any of us. We'll have to stay tuned and see what kind of resolutions come up. There's some existing resolutions already sitting in the House, and I don't know if this is a call to put some legs on those or to come up with new legislation, but we'll see. And that's all we have time for today, folks. Appreciate you watching, and stay tuned. Subscribe to see more episodes of Gun News in 5 minutes.